A series of mysterious murders in a hedonistic planet. A confused, traumatized Scotty questions his reality. Kirk and McCoy play paranormal Sherlock, and an ancient entity that looms over our heroes will try to escape. Wolf in the Fold is not an episode for the faint of heart. Wolf in the Fold. How bad was this episode? Let me start by pointing out that this episode got again 0 votes in the second list, so I should have known better. But it has happened before that episodes with 0 votes have been good in my opinion, but alas, this was not the case. However, I must admit that Wolf in the Fold got me stuck on my seat the whole 50 minutes it lasted. It started as a very intriguing story, making us wonder what in the name of scriptwriters on strike is happening. Scotty, our beloved Scotty, a murderer?
No way!
Scotty is so well liked that Kirk and McCoy will go to infinity and beyond to prove his innocence and bring the real culprit to justice.
I am evil. Evil! Evil!
But stop! Before I get to spoil this episode, remember that you can follow my social networks, subscribe to my channel if you haven't done yet, and become a patron or a YouTube member to give this channel a boost. I will leave all the links in the description box below. Okay, so how bad was this episode? So this story begins with a little bit of backstory that is necessary to establish Scotty's state of mind. While Kirk, McCoy, and Scotty are enjoying a dancing number at a house, I'm sorry, I meant a bra. I'm sorry, I meant a cafe. I mean, it's a cafe where...
Do you mean to tell me that all these women, well, that all this is...
Yes.
Just let's leave it at that, okay? And yes, I did immediately recognize the music from Vina cosplaying Gamora in the cage.
Nice place you have here, Mr. Pike.
While this belly dancer is doing her number, we can see a suspicious patron and a musician look at each other with some sort of malice. Scotty takes a stroll with the dancer, and here is what we get that backstory. Scotty just had an accident and it was caused by a woman, and now he's terrified of women. Really, episode? Scotty got killed by a machine and somehow he's not terrified of them. Or is he? They are on a medical shore leave, taking Scotty to this hedonistic planet to have a pleasurable time with a woman. Don't get me wrong, I like you, Bones. I almost believed it when you were described as...
Doctor, you are on the record an expert in psychology.
Oh, does he specialize in anything?
Especially space psychology, patterns which develop in the close quarters of a ship during long voyages in deep space.
Right, but if this is your prescription after that trauma, I don't want to imagine what would you prescribe if it had been traumatized by Nomad. They leave the cafe and walk a little around Argelia's streets, and if I just may comment on this planet's low fog look, I think it's pretty good, so this episode gets a bonus point. After a few steps, they hear a scream, and they find the belly dancer dead on the street, while Scotty is just a few steps looking like he just stubbed a toe and holding a bloody knife. At this point, I was intrigued, invested in this episode, and we're just in the kicker. But then, the rest of the episode happened. We meet Hengist, who is not native to Argelius but from Rigel 4. The actor portraying Hengist is John Fiedler, who is famous for voicing Piglet from the Winnie the Pooh series. As city administrator, he will investigate this crime, and even though he seems like a very kind man, he will not take any BS from anybody. Scotty can't remember anything, but his fingerprints are on the murder weapon. And from this conversation, we learn that all Federation members are subjected to the laws of the planet that they are in, so Scotty will need to face this process. I like details like these because they keep the series consistent with other episodes. It feels like whoever wrote this episode really knows and respects this series. We also meet Jarrus and Sibo, his wife, who is a descendant of mediums. Oh, wait, you mean she's not a medium?
Monstrous, terrible, evil.
Alrighty then.
Piglet wants an administrative approach, but Jarrus, as chief, decides to also use the paranormal approach. Kirk then presents the product of the week, the psychotricorder. Do you remember? Do you remember the psychotricorder? It's this little machine that can read your mind and describe everything you've done in the past 24 hours. What do you mean you don't remember? Maybe that's because it doesn't exist. I effing hate details like this because they destroy the consistency with other episodes. It feels like whoever wrote this episode has never watched the series or respects it at all. If this psychotricorder existed, then a lot of episodes would simply end after 20 minutes, or some others won't even get past the kicker. And I know what you're gonna say, that I'm exaggerating and blah blah blah, but I actually took a dive into all episodes from season 1 until this one, and this is what I got. In The Man Trap, could have used the psychotricorder to read Dr. Crater's mind and the alien would have been captured earlier. In Dagger of the Mind, first of all, this man was described as being in his early 40s. No, this is a man in his early 40s in the 60s. The psychotricorder would have been especially useful to help this specific man and learn about the nightmare he was living. In Conscience of the King, it could have been used on Kodos to capture him in less than half the episode. And by the way, have I ever told you that this is my favorite kicker in all of Star Trek so far? It's mysterious, short, bold. What's your favorite kicker of all of Star Trek? Let me know in the comments. In Court Martial, it could have been used to read Kirk's mind immediately after the accident, along with Kirk's statement, and find Finney faster. The entire episode would have been avoided. On Spaceseed, they could have used it on Khan or on any of the other 72 survivors. This, though, could probably be tricked depending on the superhuman's abilities. On the alternative factor, they could have used it on Lazarus as soon as his stories stopped making sense. On Journey to Babel, it could have been used on Sarek as soon as he was a suspect of the Tellurian murder. On Obsession, it could have been used on the Red Shirt and confirmed Kirk's suspicions. On Mirror Mirror, the Enterprise could have used it on the evil twins as soon as they noticed something wrong was going on with them. So yeah, the psychotricorder was never used before or after this episode. And on another point, if you Google any images of this psychotricorder, you won't find any, so this is the best you are ever going to get. The mention of this device is so out of place that we don't even see it being used at all. But now, let's call it as it is. The psychotricorder only existed to have an excuse to bring Karen Tracy, a technician that operates the tricorder. And what do we know about Karen Tracy? Well, she's a technician, and she dies in exactly 2 minutes. That's it. I'm not kidding. This is when she arrives. 120 seconds later, this is when she is dead. If you try to write her biography in a tweet, you still have 224 characters to spare. But this time, Scotty looks like how you look 5 minutes after you started watching that new Marvel movie. And once again, the victim was stabbed dozens of times. Piglet then brings the 2 suspicious men from the cafe, and here we get a little back and forth between this man. The younger man says that he loved the woman and that the young woman loved him back. But the older man says she didn't love him, that she actually didn't want to be with him. Do you see this? This is a thread tension assembly from a sewing machine. It's easy to replace and you can get one for only $5. This simple piece of engineering is 100 times more interesting to me than the story about these men. Boring. Time wasting. But in the end, this is a serious matter. This is the second dead woman in this planet, so you would assume that people will take this matter seriously and do serious things, so why not? Let's have a medium session. So everyone sits around a round table, and while the not medium is doing not medium things, she starts saying strange words before, for some reason, the lights go out briefly. We hear a scream in the dark, and when the lights go back on, we see Scotty and Sibo standing together, but Sibo's been stabbed on her back. This, being the third murder in the same day, should have made everyone in the planet kind of be in some sort of alert. But now the recently widowed is convinced by Kirk, the suspect's boss, and who was also accused by Jarrus to be...
You're behaving very much like a man who is desperately trying anything to save his friend.
To be beamed up to the Enterprise and continue their investigation. That actually means that Kirk can take control of the investigation while Piglet and Jarrus are there as mere audience. Jarrus also notes that
the ancient penalty for murder was death by slow torture.
Hedonistic till death, hey Argelius? The group gathers in this conference room, and apparently this is one of the longest scenes in the entire original series that happens in a single location or single place. Scotty is interrogated by Kirk, and of course he is. It would be ridiculous that any member of the Federation would be subjected to the laws of the planet on which they are. They are subjected to Kirk's law. Why? Because this is his name in the main titles. That's why. The computer doesn't give anything new, it simply verifies that Scotty is not lying. Scotty says that while the lights were off, he felt something in the way. When asked if it was something human, he says no, something.
It wasn't really there.
This is the moment where someone between the writer, the producer, the director, or the secretary that made copies of this script smoked a doobie, accidentally took the wrong mushrooms that he kept in the fridge while listening to the Rolling Stones' Mother's Little Helper, and then went back to work. After Piglet's complaints about this process being a waste of time, and let me say, Piglet here is the voice of reason, Jarrus commands him to...
For the time being, we will accept Captain Kirk's explanation of the machine's accuracy as factual.
And in all honesty, more than a command to Piglet, this is a command to us, the audience. We need to take Kirk's word as factual because this episode is about to get really high. After reaching a dead end, Kirk decides to use what Sibo, the dead medium, said during her trance. He begins assuming, and I can't stress enough the word assuming here strongly enough, that what Sibo said was right. And how do we make sure that what she said is right? Well, Jarrus said that...
My poor Sibo's talent was genuine, gentlemen. What she told you was true.
Oh, all right, just because you say so. Okay. Obviously, Kirk will need a stronger evidence to confirm it. I mean, after all, 3 women have been killed and Scotty's life is on the line.
All right, then.
They focus on the 3 weird words that she said, and the computer cannot find the word in the linguistic banks. But after doing a separate search, it appears to be a synonym for Jack the Ripper. Yes, Red Jack, his nickname.
Jack the Ripper.
Well, that's ridiculous. He lived hundreds of years ago.
Since Jack the Ripper can't be alive by now, Kirk simply forces the issue.
But everything we've uncovered points to Jack the Ripper.
Actually, Kirk, the only evidence you have is 3 dead bodies and Scotty's prints on the murder weapon. Everything else depends on believing Jarrus' word so far. Now, the murderer, according to Kirk, is non-human, feeds on fear, and at some point was Jack the Ripper. So Spock asks the computer if there could be an entity with all these characteristics in a hypothetical sense. The computer, using words such as
which could exist, entity would exist, most probable,
concludes that there could be an entity made of energy. Then Kirk asks if this entity could possess a person, which the computer confirms. You know, it's just like when electricity, a type of energy, possesses you and you become Electro. Kirk keeps forcing the issue, always assuming that this creature exists, and Spock helps him, adding that the creature could hypnotize the victims, blinding them from the presence of the killer.
It suggests the possibility of a hypnotic screen, which blinds all but the victim to the presence of the killer.
Is that possible?
No, Jarvis, of course not, but you agreed to this, so this is all on you, actually. Where is Spock getting this possibility from? Beats me. To top it all off, they conclude that it preys on women specifically because...
Preys on women because women are more easily and more deeply terrified.
Okay. After such gem of wisdom, the episode focuses on the only lady of the group and gives us a very nice close-up. I have no idea why she is here at all. I don't think she's gonna come in handy later. When asked about more unsolved deaths of women, the computer quotes a long list of different crimes on Earth and shows that after the 20th century this entity had moved from Earth to other planets. The other two strange words said by Sibyl turned out to be nicknames given to other killers of women in these other planets. The last name is linked to Rigel 4, and now all suspicions fall on Piglet, who gets very defensive as Kirk and Spock begin questioning his whereabouts. He refuses to take the stand as any other rational being would, honestly, but Spock says that since he is in charge of civil disturbances...
What better position from which to kill with impunity?
McCoy remembers that the murder weapon disappeared after he left, and Kirk says that he was unaccounted for when Lieutenant Tracy was killed. The accusations against Piglet are similar to the findings about Jack the Ripper and the evil ghost. They're based on simple assumptions, hypotheses, and probabilities, but nothing solid.
You're engaging in sheer speculation.
Thank you, Piglet. That's exactly what I've been trying to say.
Perhaps.
See? They analyze the weapon, and it happens to be made in Rigel 4, and here's where Piglet can't take it any longer. He loses his shit. He tries to escape, pushing everyone out of his way. With the power of editing, Piglet turns into this stunt double with a bald cap. The double kicks Kirk in the chest, throws a chair, and... my goodness, that's an awful bald cap. Kirk feeds him his specialty, a fist sandwich. But the fist sandwich was so strong that it knocks him out and it turns him back into Piglet. And you are not gonna believe this.
He's dead, Jim.
Cause of death? 1. Kirk's fist. They're telling me that this punch is just as powerful as this one.
Alrighty then.
Well, that's impossible.
Actually for once you're right, Kirk. But then the lights start to go on and off, and Baron Ushura from Transfer C takes over the speakers and starts threatening our heroes.
Don't think you're getting away! Follow them, J3!
In a clear case of FAFO, they realize they've lost control of the computer. Red Jack has now possessed the computer, which controls the ship.
Captain!
Scotty points at the screen that seems to be high as well, and it's showing psychedelic images.
What's happening, Captain?
Holy shit, she speaks! The evil ghost will try to terrorize everyone on the ship before killing them all. Kirk finds this the perfect moment to ask for drugs. No, I'm actually serious, look.
What's the sedative situation?
I've got some stuff that would tranquilize an active volcano.
That's the spirit! That's the spirit, McCoy! Kirk commands that everyone gets sedated so that no one can fear terror and the evil ghost can't be fed. Kirk then asks Spock if he has a compulsory scan built into the computer banks. Is this scan ever mentioned before or after this episode? No. After our heroes survive a murder attempt inside the turbolift, we see that it can also move sideways when going to the bridge. Once in the bridge, they learn that the computer has tampered with the life support systems as it continues to threaten everyone on the speakers. Every crew member gets a shot of the sedative.
Captain?
You know, the quick type.
Whoever he is,
He sure talks gloomy.
I love you, Sulu. Next thing we know, the Enterprise looks like Mardi Gras back in the 70s. Spock commands the computer to find to the last digit the value of pi. Since the number is infinite and there is a compulsory scan built into the computer, it will have no choice but to focus on this single problem. Therefore, the ghost will have no choice but to leave the computer. He commands McCoy to sedate himself, and as he was about to sedate Jarrus, turns out that the evil ghost has already left the computer and possessed him. But the ghost leaves Jarrus and gets into Piglet's body, who immediately jumps up and takes this girl as hostage. Now that's why she was there, I knew it! But it's too late, she's not taking this seriously. I mean, after all, why is he alive? Why did he die in the first place? Kirk shows that he's fluent in judo, and Spock takes this opportunity to sedate Hengist. They carry him over, take him into the transporter room, put him there, and then just send him to outer space with maximum dispersion. That is, they turn Piglet's body into smithereens. This poor technician is too high to understand what's happening. McCoy enters the room as if he were singing Happy Birthday.
What did you do with that thing, Captain?
That thing, Scotty, was a human being, by the way. Everyone is groovy, everyone is happy, and so this episode ends in a very happy note. At some point, the episode started begging us to stop thinking. Don't think about the Undertaker's punch. How an entire ship was left high for about 5 to 6 hours. How they took a still-speaking, sedated man into the transporter room and then teletransported him into outer space. Rest in peace, Piglet. You were just a man from Rigel 4 who got possessed by evil itself, turning you into a serial killer, and who had the shite luck to meet Captain Kirk, the man who would punch you, end you, and send your body to outer space. You were innocent, my man. The real culprit was evil itself.
I am evil! Evil!
It had existed for eons, until it met Captain Kirk. This episode also wants us to forget that there was never any real hard evidence that didn't prove that the evil entity didn't actually take over Scotty and force him to do those things. If it can jump from person to person as easily as it did from Jarrus to Hengist, then it would be a lot easier to jump from Hengist to Scotty and then commit the crime. The hypnotic screen is only a suggestion from Spock anyway. Piglet not being accounted for at the time of the murders is not conclusive either. Scotty was factually with the victims at the same place at the time of the murders, and he had the murder weapons in his hands. And have we ever thought about the psychological repercussions of this episode on Scotty? Nah, he got high, he'll get over it. And Jarrus? Well, he just lost his wife, discovered his city administrator was possessed by evil itself. He was also temporarily possessed by it until he felt the power of chiropractics. Do we care? That's how bad this episode was. It started with mystery, horror, and suspense, and it finished in a Scooby-Doo ending, with a laughing computer, a human body dumped into space, and a captain that 3 minutes after he torn a man into pieces, he felt the need to go to a and meet women in a planet where 3 of them have been killed. Give this man a prize. And don't get me wrong, I still love Star Trek. Like a good old friend of ours said, I love it to pieces. So long, stoners!